Tim Holtz and Sizzix has a new Halloween release, and I could not be more excited about this. I created 4 cards for you today using most of the products. Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so very much for stopping by and watching. I'm going to go through really quick what scrapbook.com sent me to play with. This is the layered jack-o'-lantern. Isn't he fantastic? This is the alphanumeric cutout lower, so like lowercase. We have witchcraft. I love this. It's so cool. Haunted house. Look at that cool moon and those fun bats. Then we have trick or treat. This is so fantastic. Now, I did not use this. This is the leaf fragments. I do plan on making some cards with this because I love it. Same with this one. This is the foliage large. This is 6 by 8.5. This is a 3D embossing folder. And I did use this one. This is the cracked large, which is 6 by 8.5 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to start with my backgrounds, and I'm actually going to speed this up because I did create 4 cards, and this video would be forever long if I did not. So I am starting with Spellbinder's Fog cardstock. All of my cards are A2 sized. I am using Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous Bold Frights Sentiments. I want to create my background with these really fun sentiments. We're going to be doing some ink blending and some splattering and die cutting, like all the fun things to create these cards. Now, why I was doing this in my Misty for the first 2 backgrounds, I could not tell you. This is not the fastest way to do this. So I do switch it up and I will do a quicker way. But I am lining these up differently. I don't want them just obviously all in one row. So I am, having it hang off the side, of course, off the top, off the bottom, and just lining them up differently. So this background says trick or treat. This is going to be for our jack-o'-lantern, which I think is so perfect. I am creating a tone on tone, so I'm using Distress Oxide inks. I'm sorry my head was in the way on this. For this background, I am using Lost Shadow to ink up my sentiments. But I thought these big, bold sentiments were perfect for creating some interest and, I'm going to say, texture onto the background without having to create like a nighttime scene or anything like that. Then I am using, this is Spellbinder's Lilac cardstock. I am using Wilted Violet on this. This says, I put a spell on you. This is going to be for the witch, which I think is obviously totally perfect. There is also the Hocus Pocus background. I did not use that. That would also be great for the witch. But I thought this was just so much fun. So after this one, I do get smarter, and I'm going to use an acrylic block because that is so much faster than having to line up the Misty, clean it, because I have to clean my stamp in between because I have to put it down. This is not the fastest way to do it. Will you get straighter lines? Yes, but I got pretty good straight lines with my acrylic block, and I'm pretty crooked. So I would suggest use your acrylic block. So all of these cards will be tone on tone as far as the background goes. Here now I have my acrylic block. My head is going to be in the way because I have to see. I'm so sorry. This one says, I'm here for the candy. I think this is really cute. So this is going to be for the little trick-or-treaters. I am using carved pumpkin for this. And the cardstock that I am using is Carrot from Spellbinders. I always have to check my list because I write everything down that I use. Okay, then this is Rainforest cardstock, and I am using Mowed Lawn and the word Boo. This is going to be for our haunted house. which I think is fantastic. So I love all of these backgrounds. I love having this big, bold text sentiments all over this background. I think it is so fun. Let's do a little bit of ink blending around the edges. I am using, let me see here. This is Crackling Campfire. A little bit of I think I used a little bit of the carved pumpkin, and then I'm going to use black soot. So I don't want to cover up all of my stamping that we just did, but I don't mind that it's darker around the edges. I think that just makes this look better. And really, if you leave the center lighter, it's more of this highlight area that's going to be behind your die cuts, and that's going to look really, really good. I'm using scrapbook.com's Grip Mate, so my cardstock is not sliding around and my ink pad sticks to it, so that's really, really nice too. Mowed lawn for this, and then I'm also going to use forest moss and then black soot. So black soot's going to be on all of these. I started off with rustic wilderness, but it wasn't what I really wanted to go with, so I brought in the forest moss. This felt a little more grungy and spooky because it's so super dark. So I think that is great. Then I will use black soot. I'm also going to bring back in that mowed lawn, just going around the edges again to soften up the darker color that I'm putting down. So, you know, this is how you like to ink blend, but I do like to go back over and soften up the harsh edges of the darker color with the lighter color. Then we have Wilted Violet here, and then I'm also going to use Villainous Potion and black soot. So the lighter color I reach out further into the cardstock, and the darker colors I keep a little less. So let's ink blend this guy here, and then I'm going to come back in and just soften around those edges. Okay, and then we have Lost Shadow and Hickory Smoke, and then black soot for this background. Now, when we do our die cutting, everything else is going to be die cut from black except for our jack-o'-lantern. Everything else looks like a silhouette, but our jack-o'-lantern is all kinds of detailed, and I love him. It's such a good size. He is so much fun, you guys. I cannot wait till you see him get put together. He is a blast. All right, let's splatter with some Distress Spritz. I didn't have a gray, so I used frayed burlap on my gray. So it has a little bit of a brown to it, but it is kind of a brownish gray, so it worked. Then I have Wilted Violet, Rusty Hinge here for the orange, and then what else did we use? Oh, and then Mowed Lawn. So this is going to give us a fun shimmer on the background, give us that splattered look, but a super fun shimmer. Then I have some stars die cut and a moon that I need to die cut. So I'm just going to ink blend my mixed media white cardstock, and then I can just die cut from that rather than having to die cut a delicate moon and these tiny little stars. I'm just going to do it on the cardstock, and then I can die cut through. Now, when I made this card, the stars go to the witch. I totally forgot to do that on camera, and so I may have done it at the very end, but if not, they're in the photos. And then I used Scattered Straw for the moon. I'm going to cut these out separately because I want to splatter these, or spray these, excuse me. So I'm going to spray them with a Distress Spritz. I used Fossilized Amber on the Scattered Straw, and I used Mowed Lawn on the Mowed Lawn. For the stars. It totally works. But I do want these to be super shimmery and shiny. And I'm going to do the same thing for the sentiments as well. So I'm actually going to spritz this instead of splattering it. You can spritz it where it's soaked and it gets really dark, or you can just do a little bit of spritzing on it. So I'm just doing a little bit of spritzing for this. I don't need it to be completely covered, but you want to give it a really good shake and make sure all that stuff that's on the bottom is nice and mixed up in your Distress Spritz. Then I die cut the Trick or Treat from the Trick or Treat die set, and I'm going to soak that with the Wilted Violet Distress Spritz. I do want that sentiment to be really, really shiny. Okay, now I'm die cutting out my sentiments. So we have Boo that I die cut from the Fog cardstock. I have Hocus Pocus that I die cut from, what color did we use? I think it's the terracotta cardstock from Spellbinders. Then we have the Rainforest cardstock that I am going to die cut the word spooky from. And then we're going to spritz those as well with the Distress Spritz that I have been using. So I love these little fonts, so fun. So spritzing that with the Mowed Lawn. This is with Rusty Hinge. This is our Hocus Pocus. That's going to go with our witch here. Let me give that a little spritz. And then Boo is going to be spritzed with the frayed burlap, because again, I don't have a gray. So this was close enough. So I'm not going to soak this. I'm just going to give it a few little spritz, and it looks really distressed and fun. Then I'm using that 3D embossing folder, the cracked large, with some mixed media black cardstock from scrapbook.com. I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, and we're going to use that at the bottom of our card, and I'll show you here in just a minute. Let's use some crackling campfire to ink up the edges of our jack-o'-lantern. He is die cut from terracotta cardstock from scrapbook.com, and then I have the other part of him is saffron. It's the yellow cardstock. So a little bit of ink blending around the edges, and then there is his base. It's a solid base that I die cut from black cardstock. And then I will bring in, I think I used Rusty Hinge for a little bit on these little detail pieces. This again is from the saffron cardstock from Spellbinders. Okay, so let's put him together. So there's that black background piece. We're going to adhere him. I did die cut a little green piece for his stem. That is from Fern cardstock. And then let's get these layers on here. He is just so cool. I love how he looks. What a fun face. Kind of lighthearted, a little bit spooky. Like, I just think it's so cool. So now we're going to start layering. So you have there's two side pieces, there's a center piece, there's a bottom mouth piece, and then we have our little highlight pieces that goes around the eyes, the mouth, and the bottom of the mouth. But you can see he's already starting to come together, and especially because we ink blended those edges to make them a little bit darker. So it just adds a nice interest. So he's got some shadow area, some shading area, and some highlight area. So let me get his bottom of his mouth down here. And then we have the other pieces. Excuse me, sorry. Not sure what I was looking for, so I'm very sorry about that. It's taking me just a second to get my life together. Oh, I think I was looking for where these little pieces go exactly. So I was looking on the packaging. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, so a little bit of liquid glue, and these pieces just make all the difference once you get them on there. How cool is he? I just think he's such a neat die cut. I love all of these die cuts. I love them all. They are so fantastic. I mean, come on. Tim Holtz Halloween is pretty amazing. And I want to say thank you to scrapbook.com for sending this to me, all this stuff, so I could share with you guys. They're pretty awesome. What a great company to work with, for sure. Okay, so now we have his mouth on, and look at how cute he is. I just love him. Okay, so all of our other die cuts are die cut from black cardstock. This is the Haunted House. I am splattering them with frayed burlap distress spritz. So all the rest of the images. This is Witchcraft, so we have our witch and the cat. Just adding some splatterings to that. I didn't want these to just be straight black. I wanted to have a little something that makes them look a little distressed. This is the Trick or Treat. How cute. So cute. And the little bats that go with that. There's lots of little bats in these die cuts, which I think is so much fun. And then I will use rusty hinge a little bit on the pumpkin, just trying to keep it to the outside edges. Now, that cracked large 3D embossing folder that I used, I trimmed down into different size pieces. I'm going to use it as my grounding pieces on my cards. I love the texture of it. I couldn't put it behind my card bases because some of these die cuts were just too big to trim my card panel down smaller. So I opted to bring it in as a grounding piece. So there's going to be different sizes depending on the size of my die cut. So this is the largest grounding piece, but I love that you can just see all the texture, and you guys can't see it that great because it's black cardstock, but it is fantastic. So I added 2mm foam adhesive behind my pumpkin. I'm going to use that for all of my images, and then I will just use some liquid glue for all of the sentiments. It's a little bit backwards for me. You know, I always put foam adhesive behind my sentiments, but these are too small for that. The way to combat that is to die cut the sentiments 2 or 3 times to give it some dimension. Well, I was not going to do that because I'm making 4 cards. That would have just been so much die cutting and a lot of time. If I was doing maybe 1 or 2 cards, I probably would have done that. But yeah, that was been way too much. Look at this cool haunted house, you guys. It is, I just love this die cut so much. I love that moon. This comes with 3 bats. They're different sizes. I love things like that. I love that kind of detail in die cuts. But look at this haunted mansion. It's so cool. And remember I was talking about when you're ink blending and you leave the center highlighted. This looks like it's glowing from behind. So I think that is really, really awesome. Then we have the Boo sentiment. Cute, cute. And I'm just going to trim off these excess pieces here. Let's bring in our trick or treat one. Add our foam adhesive down here at the bottom. And then I can just center that. Add some foam. I did foam squares on these guys so I didn't have to trim up a bunch of foam strips just because there was a lot of little areas to put that. I'm going to center that right at the bottom. The little broom fell off or broke off, so I needed to just glue that down. Then we have our trick or treat sentiment. I'm going to adhere at the top, and we have a couple of bats that came with this die set. You guys are going to need to tell me down in the comments which of these is your favorite, do you think? It's really hard for me to choose. I love the jack-o'-lantern. I love the haunted house. That is just so much fun to me. I think the witch and the cat are so cool. I mean, I love them also. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Let's finish her up. And these will all go onto an A2 size card base. Let's put her over to the side. I decided to go vertical with the sentiment here. It fit the best. And we are doing Hocus Pocus, of course. How could you not do Hocus Pocus with the witch? And remember, her background says, I put a spell on you, which I think is really fun. And again, just some liquid glue, just reverse tweezers. I'm just eyeballing it. But what I think is good is because these letters are a little wonky themselves, if something's a little off or crooked, you are not going to notice unless it's like wildly crooked. But then maybe that's intentional, right? But yeah, you're not going to notice because these are just kind of fun little wonky letters to begin with. Let me get my last 2 here, and then we've got some fun. I've got some fun finishing details on this. I thought it would be great to add some black pops of color onto the background. So I'm just doing some little scatterings. Now remember, I talked about the witch and I totally forgot to put her stars on, but if you look at the photos, especially at the end here, you'll see that I have the stars on there and they look fantastic on there. But when I was kind of cleaning up my workspace, I was like, oh my gosh, because I totally put them aside and just forgot about it. So I love how these little scattering of dots all over really, really looks with the black. I think that's really fun. I'm glad I added that detail. It just adds that one little extra thing that I think these needed to kind of break up all of that color on the background. So just making little clusters of dots, different sizes. I think that's what's fun about using like pops of color or Nuvo crystal drops or Nuvo drops, whatever you're using. I love that you can do different sizes. And I'm just tapping the bottom because it kind of flattens them out and makes the circles perfectly round, and it gets rid of that point. And then we'll just take a look at these up close, and then look at the pictures at the end so you can see the stars on my witch, since I totally forgot about them in the video. All right, look at all that shimmer and shine. Look at the fun text on the background. Of course, the die cuts are amazing. That's the cute trick or treat dies. This is the witchcraft dies. Oh my gosh, I love it. That cat is fantastic. Then we have our haunted house. I think this one might be my favorite right now. I love it. I love that moon. And then of course we have the layered jack-o'-lantern. I love him. He is so much fun. Cute, cute. Okay, guys, thank you so very much for joining me today on this video. I hope that you feel inspired by these 4 cards. I think they turned out so fun. I appreciate you watching, commenting, thumbsing up, subscribing if you like my channel. Thank you again, and I will be back soon with another video.